Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Shane and I'm delighted to be joined by Edward Watson, Global Product Marketing Manager at Veeam Software USA, who will be talking to you today about how to have 6 reasons for Microsoft Office 365 backup. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC19. Don't forget to check out the Resource Center. This is updated almost daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit SharePointEurope.com and click the content link at the top. ESPC19 team discounts allows you to book 4 tickets and receive your 5th ticket free. That's a huge 20% discount worth up to €1,795 for a huge amount of team learning and development. Join the best SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure practitioners in the world in Prague this December and go to the next level faster together. Simply visit SharePointEurope.com for further details. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have for Edward in the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter, Edward Watson. Hello, Edward.
Hello, Shane. Thanks for having me today. Can you see my screen okay?
I can indeed. Take it away.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So like Shane mentioned, I'm a product marketing manager at Veeam Software, and I've been working in the Office 365 backup space for really the past year. So looking forward to sharing some valuable insights with you today. So first, for a little bit about Veeam, for those that aren't familiar with Veeam, we started out really with the rise of virtualization. So with the rise of VMware, vSphere, Hyper-V, we were really one of the first prime players to offer that backup specifically for virtualized environments. And as time went on, we expanded to encompass physical workloads, cloud-based workloads. And actually now we have thousands of integrations and even have integrations with leading cloud providers such as Azure, IBM Cloud, and AWS, as well as an ecosystem of managed service providers that build Veeam into their offering. So together with all our support, all our backup and replication capabilities, we really enabled that platform for our customers to leverage. Also, I'd like to share just a few stats about Veeam. So we just this year actually finalized $1 billion in bookings and have 80% of the Fortune 500. And we have a stat we're really proud of, this NPS score of 3.5 times the industry average. So that metric is actually how likely a Veeam customer would be to recommend to their peers. So 9 out of 10 puts us right alongside some of the best companies in the industry, in the world. 365,000 plus customers worldwide, with the #1 backup solution in EMEA, Europe, and #4 in worldwide. So we're definitely one of the more fast-growing, exciting backup companies in the world. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into the topic today. This is a topic that has many different varied opinions on it. So I'm definitely looking forward to maybe setting the record straight, and maybe hopefully you'll learn a few things. But really, when it comes to the reasons why, we kind of go back to these 6 core reasons. So first is the accidental deletion component. You know, we're all human, we all make mistakes. I would even venture to say that a few people listening today may have deleted something, or maybe one of their peers did, that they actually had to go in and try to get back, whether that be a document, file, or email. In addition, retention policy confusion and the gaps, and really that confusion is around thinking something's protected, thinking data is available, when in fact it's not. And we'll go into kind of how that plays out in the Microsoft retention policy world. In addition, these middle two kind of go hand in hand. So typically when we think of security threats, we think of those external security threats, but sometimes I think we can overlook the fact that there's those internal security threats as well. There may be those malicious insiders or departing employees that actually want to do harm to the data that we have. So I think it's worth remembering that it's not just external security threats like ransomware, rogue apps, it's internal as well. And then legal and compliance, we see this as such a critical need. Now with especially these evolving compliance needs that organizations need to adhere to, that really they're needing that control over their Office 365 data and making sure that they can quickly send whatever they need to their HR or compliance officer and make sure again they have that control. And I think control is going to be one of the major themes that you'll see play out today. And the final one is slightly different than the rest, but we know that managing hybrid can be complex. I would venture to say that some people on this call today may have a combination of on-prem Exchange and Office 365, and I think it can be easy to overlook the complexity there. And really, it's all about having that streamlined backup policy, right? That streamlined capability to make sure that your data is completely protected. So how often, we can talk about these reasons all day, but how often do these reasons actually happen? And we ran an internal Veeam customer survey of about 1,500 people, and we asked that very question: what forms of data loss have you experienced within the cloud? And the leading by far was user error accidental deletion at 37%. In addition, we had security threats, which actually does happen, as well as the retention policy gaps, which was something that was very surprising. The retention policy gaps, we weren't sure if that was actually something people had to deal with, but they actually did. So these are very real concerns for customers. In addition, we asked the question, what is your organization's primary protection strategy for Microsoft Office 365? Here we got about 2,000 responses. And what was interesting was we saw rely on Microsoft's native tools for backup and recovery at 19%. We do not back up Office 365 as the majority. Now, what's interesting about these two stats is 2 years ago, these would have been flipped. So these two right here would have been actually flip-flopped. So essentially, you would have seen that the majority actually said we rely on Microsoft's native tools for backup and recovery, and we had a much less we do not back up Office 365 data from 2 years ago. In fact, this number of 76% has actually dropped down from about 84%. So people are understanding that Microsoft doesn't necessarily provide what they need. They are starting to wrap their head around, okay, yes, I get that what Microsoft provides isn't suitable, and yes, I probably do need a backup at some point in the future. So what exactly does Microsoft backup? And I know this is kind of a bit of an eye chart, bit of a lot to take in, but really just think about this holistically with me for a second. Office 365 backup and retention policies really are only intended and really can only protect you from data loss in a limited way. It's not intended to be a complete backup solution. Retention policies are always evolving, tend to be quite complex. And in addition, retention policies can be complicated to manage and monitor. If you can see these two here, deleted recycle bins and employee leaves the company, if you delete something, you're going to want to get it back. That's a matter of fact. If you accidentally delete something, you're going to want to get it back. If an employee leaves the company and their stuff is permanently deleted after 1 month, well, you're probably going to have your boss over your shoulder asking, hey, where's that guy's document? Where's that guy's SharePoint file? Where's that guy's email? And you're going to want to try to have to get that back eventually. So I think that these are very real concerns and they're really ticking clocks if you think about it. So with these ever evolving retention policies, you need to make sure that really you're the one that has control over this. In addition, there's kind of a scary stat I want to share, and that's something that Microsoft shared in their 6 steps to holistic security. And they said that the average length of time from data compromise to discovery, so the time that a security threat is identified after the fact. So it's over 140 days, yet default settings only protect between 30 and 90. So people will discover a security compromise after the fact, where they're at with it, outside their period where they're actually protected. So that's very a pretty scary stat that comes straight from Microsoft. And what we say from our standpoint is Veeam is really more than just simply filling gaps. It's about providing that access and control. So regardless of any one of these ticking clocks, right? After, whether it's a month that it gets deleted, or whether it's 3 months, it's about having access and control, and making sure that whether it's Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for business data, make sure you have that one location where you're able to get the recovery capabilities that you need. Make sure that you're able to access and have control over that data. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the shared responsibility between yourself, you as an IT manager, IT professional, and Microsoft. So the number one question we've got from customers, the number one question we get from partners, the industry, everyone is, why do I need a backup? I thought Microsoft takes care of that. And really, probably back when you were patching that Exchange server and you were sold into this idea of the cloud and Office 365, you may have had this very perception that Microsoft takes care of everything. They take care of the infrastructure. They take care of the data. All of this is protected within the cloud. But the perception is much different than the reality. The reality is so much different. So your perception may have been Microsoft takes care of everything. Fair enough. But they are only responsible for the uptime of Office 365. The customer reality, or your reality, is that Microsoft takes care of the infrastructure, but the data that resides within the service is your responsibility. And it's your responsibility to protect it for long-term retention needs. So now I'd actually like to break down and go through the Office 365 shared responsibility model. So this is something, this is actually a framework that Microsoft published to kind of help customers wrap their head around what their responsibility is versus Microsoft. So you can find this if you Google the Office 365 Trust Center, or are able to click this link, you can access this document. But let's build out this together. So on the top row, you'll see what Microsoft's responsibility is, and on the bottom, you'll see what you as the IT professional, your responsibility is to protect. So let's build this out together. So first, the primary responsibility is, like I mentioned, the uptime of the cloud service. So Microsoft does a great job at keeping the lights on, making sure they sold you a service. They keep great uptime of that service. But again, your responsibility is your Office 365 data, and making sure that you have the access and control over that data that resides in the service. And how do they deliver? How do these audiences deliver on the supporting technologies? Well, for Microsoft, they deliver on the uptime of the Microsoft Office 365 service with data center to data center replication. And what we know about replication is what goes out in one end gets replicated out the other, right? So whether it's an accidental deletion, whether it's ransomware, whether it's retention policy gaps, if there is any one of those risks can actually be replicated. And sometimes we ask the question, what's more important, a backup or replication? And really, it's a trick question, because you need both. You do need both. So that's why our flagship product's called Veeam Backup and Replication, because we do believe in the need for both. But we do especially believe in that need for an Office 365 backup, a copy of your data stored in a different location and isolated from the source, right? In addition, you may say, well, Edward, isn't a recycle bin kind of serve the purpose of a backup? And my answer would be absolutely not. It's more than just needing a backup. It's having full data retention for both short-term and long-term needs, filling any and all policy gaps there are, whether that's granular and point-in-time recovery needs. In addition, there's the security shared responsibility. So you can see this is kind of a blended box, and it's a blended box for a reason, because, is security Microsoft's responsibility? Absolutely. Is security your responsibility? Absolutely. It's just different levels of security. So Microsoft's the infrastructure level. They're making sure that there's actual physical security of the data centers. There's app level security. Yours is the data. So yours is making sure that you're protected against those internal security threats, the accidental deletions, the malicious insiders, whatever that may be, evidence tampering, and as well as the external, whether that be the hackers, rogue apps, and things of that nature. Lastly, there's the regulatory concerns. So this is a blended box as well. So this is both yours and Microsoft's responsibility, but Microsoft is the data processor. They don't want to be the data owner. They rely on you to be the owner and custodian of your own data. So while Microsoft does take care of data privacy, regulatory controls, and helps meet compliance for those, really it's all about you answering to your own internal corporate industry regulations and your own internal demands from legal, your own internal demands from HR. To make sure that you, as the data owner, have custody over your data and are able to have control and use it how you need. So hopefully that kind of explains the breakdown of responsibilities and gives you a better picture of how the need for a backup is critical in this sense of the shared responsibility. And obviously, without a backup of Office 365, you're going to have that limited access and control of the data. You're going to be subject to retention policy gaps and data loss dangers. You may fall prey to security vulnerabilities as well as regulatory exposure. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about how Veeam protects within Office 365 with Veeam backup from Microsoft Office 365. And really the message that we've been leading with in the market the past 2 years is, Microsoft does a great job again at hosting your email files and the content management infrastructure, but again, does not replace the need for a backup. With Office 365, it's your data and it's your responsibility to protect it. And with Veeam backup for Microsoft Office 365, you can eliminate that risk of losing access to data, including Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive for Business, and really make sure that, again, you're the one that has control over that data and make sure that it's protected. In addition to the full paid version of this product, we actually have a free community edition, our gift to the community, as it were. So if you have 10 users or less, you can actually use the full functionality of the product for 10 users or less, or 1 terabyte of SharePoint data. So this is a great capability for those smaller businesses. In addition, I'd like to call out some of the differentiators that Veeam Backup from Microsoft Office 365 has. So, many vendors out in the market will force you into specific storage requirements. They will box you in and lock you into a specific storage type. With Veeam, we've always been that any provider, any location vendor, we want to make sure that we give our customers the options that they need. So if you have some local storage lying around or available that you want to use, awesome, that's great. You can back it up on premises. You want to leverage a hyperscale cloud like Azure and AWS, wonderful. We have ways of you doing that. If you want to have a service provider take care of all that for you, wonderful. We can totally get you to a service provider and really enable that protection from all the nasty things we talked about, the accidental deletions, the security threats, and retention policy gaps. We offer some of the greatest capabilities in terms of restore. So compared to many other companies out in the industry, many other vendors in the industry, we offer a variety of restore capabilities, and I'll share exactly what those look like in the next slides. But really, we're also helping you meet those legal and compliance requirements. We help so many customers out in the market meet their compliance needs, and they're just amazed at how quickly they're able to meet those compliance needs compared to other vendors. So it's all about giving you the control to quickly restore and send that compliance file and just move on with your day. That's really all it's about. So I mentioned some of the restore capabilities, and we have spared no expense in terms of the time that we've taken, really spending, making sure that you have the restore capabilities that you need. If you want to restore it back on-prem, great. If you want to restore it back to Office 365, great. If you want to restore Exchange Online, OneDrive for business data, SharePoint Online, SharePoint on-prem, we give you all save and send, export capabilities. We give you all kinds of capabilities, and we've built even a lot of smarts and deduplication type aspects into these. So definitely worth checking out this graphic. You can actually, if you want to Google this, or if you can access this link, definitely check out the 25 ways to restore graphic. And a lot of times, customers will ask me, well, Edward, why do I need 25 ways to restore? And my answer to them is, well, it's sure, this graph may look like a lot, but it's about giving you options for your restores. We want you, again, it's all about making sure that you have the control you need over your restores. Make sure that you have all the options you need, regardless of what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. So definitely check this graphic out. In addition, I'd like to just call out some of the growth we've seen. So, and this isn't necessarily for me to show how amazing Veeam is or anything like that. I just want to show you that this is a battle-tested solution. We've had 556% customer growth in 2018. 84,000 organizations have downloaded this, representing 9 million mailbox users. In addition, we have 7,500 plus customers and counting. And these are large organizations. These are smaller organizations. These are environmental organizations. These are hospitals. I mean, all kinds of industries. And they all have one thing in common. And that is that they all understand the need to back up their Office 365 data. And they all see that as a need for their business. So now I want to quickly go over how this actually works. I won't be sharing a demo today, but I will be giving you a quick kind of visual display. So like you can see here, we've got our Office 365 environment here, and we've also got our on-prem environment here for Office 365. So you can kind of see that we're feeding this data. You can do a hybrid setup where you can feed this data into this backup repository here. And then from there, you can use these special applications, these explorers that we've had for some time. You've got Veeam Explorer for Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive. You can use these explorers to then conduct your restores. So from there, you can save as a file. You can do your exports. You can restore those to wherever you'd like, back on-prem to Office 365, and really make sure that you have those nicely restored. So now I just want to close out, and I know I had a full hour, but I'm actually way ahead of schedule, so I'm sure some people appreciate that on the call. But really, I'd just like to mention a few key takeaways here. So the first is definitely read up or share the 6 reasons why special report. So this will be a really great summary for you to further investigate this matter. You could share this with your colleagues. You could just get more information than what I've shared today, even more information on the 6 reasons why, and definitely use that. It's linked right below. And secondly, I'd just like to say, see for yourself. So by the time this presentation is over, you could easily have this downloaded. It takes a very, very short amount of time, but you can have the free product. Full product for 30 days free. So you can go to veeam.com and download this for 30 days free. And I'd also like to close out with that we will be at the SharePoint conference. We will be at the event. So you can definitely talk more about your Office 365 needs if you're going to the ESPC event, and we can definitely talk more about your Office 365 environment and go from there. So with that, Shane, I know I'm closing quite a bit earlier than expected, but I think I'm ready for any questions we might have.
Thanks for a great presentation, Edward. Actually, I think the Community really appreciate a short sales pitch, to be honest.
Sure.
I think it's far too easy to just drag on and on. So
Sure.
if you have any questions for Edward, please do type them into the questions window now. Okay, we'll get cracking. There is some questions coming in, Edward, so I'll
Okay.
start working through them.
Okay.
First question, what clouds can you use to store your Office 365 data?
Yes, good question. So I know I covered a few there. So really, it's you could leverage anything from Azure to AWS. You could also leverage IBM Cloud. We also encourage you to look at our Veeam Cloud and service provider partners, so our managed service provider partners. They're a wonderful ecosystem of partners that can actually help you and really offer that backup as a service and help you manage that backup on your behalf. So definitely got some options, great options, and definitely more options, even more coming options in the upcoming versions that we have of this product.
Great. Next question is, how is it priced?
Sure. So we license exactly how Microsoft licenses their per user per month license. So it'll be no different than that. And we start at $1.50 per user per month. And there are greater discounts available. Starting with the 3 to 5 year, we see a lot of customers that really prefer those 3 to 5 year commitments and can really take advantage of those really deep discounts. So we definitely advise taking a look at those nice discounts.
Okay. Is it part of Veeam backup and replication, or is it separate?
That is a great question. So many of you may be familiar with Veeam Backup and Replication. That's our flagship product. And this is actually separate. So a completely separate solution. We built this for a very specific use case for our customers. So it's deployed completely separate from Veeam Backup and Replication. And we did that deliberately to make this a separate use case, separate solution that they can utilize.
Okay. What about built-in compliance tools like retention policies? How do they compare to Veeam?
The retention policies compared to Veeam. So you can back up as frequently as you like. We don't put any limit on your retention frequencies. Whatever you require in your business, whether it's multiple backups a day, whether it's just once a day, there's no limits on that. And those backups are usually very quick too, depending on how much data you have.
Okay. Next question, is Veeam backup located in Azure, or could it be?
So you can actually deploy Veeam backup. You can actually go to the Azure Marketplace and you can actually deploy in an Azure VM. So this product is available for deployment in the Azure Marketplace. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What performance can be expected for large backup or restore operations? Is throttling a concern for this?
So throttling is definitely something we look at. When it comes to Microsoft throttling, that's something we're definitely looking to address in the upcoming versions of this product. But that's definitely we don't see a big impact when it comes to throttling. But that's certainly something we'd like to improve and work on and make sure that's included, reduced throttling in the upcoming versions of this product.
Brilliant. Edward, that's all the questions that we have today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having me, Shane. And just a reminder, we will be at ESPC. So definitely continue the conversation there if you'll be there. Stop by the booth and get some goodies.
Great. Well, on behalf of the ESPC community, thank you, Edward, for taking the time today to complete this webinar. We definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Edward. Okay, everybody. Excuse me. This is the end of the webinar today. Don't forget the team discount for ESPC 19. The team discount allows you to book 4 tickets and receive your 5th ticket free. That's a huge 20% discount worth up to €1,795 for a huge amount of team learning and development. Join the best SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure practitioners in the world in Prague this December and go to the next level faster together. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com for further details. As I mentioned, this webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre. So please visit the Resource Centre later today where this will be available. Thank you again to Edward Watson for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining us today. Our next webinar is happening November 13th with Tom Morgan, which will be a Microsoft Ignite roundup. If you can't make it to Ignite, please do make it to ESPC 19 in Prague. Thank you, everyone. Take care and goodbye.